Hi ho ho, it's me, Ralph Bakshi, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby and Paul.
I don't even know who that is.
Me neither. Um, yeah, we have a slam dunk episode as always. No news. I feel like
Yay.
yeah, I feel like there's not been a whole lot of stuff. Um, there was, I guess we could theoretically talk about this, that Mattel um, has like greenlit like 40 some movies to correspond with all of the different toys that they have, I guess riding off of the success of Barbie.
Movie that is yet to come out.
A movie that is yet to
Mhm.
come out and is going to be artsy and feminist because it's a Greta Gerwig production. And so, of course, they follow that up with like a Magic 8 Ball movie. And I forget who's doing that. I think it's one of the Blums. They're making it a horror movie. Someone over there. And then J.J. Abrams is making a Hot Wheels movie.
Mm.
This is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like how the meme of like I don't remember like what what did this. I don't know if it was like a sketch show or something where they just like come up with a movie for like every inanimate object, but that's just what's happening now.
Yeah, pretty much. It's weird. Like, I think Barbie, I mean, I haven't seen it obviously because it's not
What?
out yet. But I've been seeing some reviews of people who have been seeing it because it premiered this past weekend. I saw Margot Robbie she had multiple costume changes during the premiere, and all of them were like real Barbie outfits at some point. So she's going hard in this. But from people who've seen it, I think it's already gonna be a movie that like movie reviewers on YouTube are gonna be like, "This is woke nonsense." Not, I mean, this is the same lady that made Little Women and Lady Bird, so like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people are expecting. I know it's a big blockbuster and it has Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling in it, but like, if you know anything about Greta Gerwig and even just like some of the trailers seem to, it's all about like female autonomy, and like I guess some of that is gonna be Ken's thing, is that his whole life is just revolving around Barbie, and that's gonna be weird. I'm excited though. I think it's gonna be good. I'm definitely going to see it first over Oppenheimer
Oh,
because I have seen the most recent Oppenheimer trailer. I went and saw two movies this week. I went and saw Past Lives, which is an artsy A24 movie, and I watched Asteroid City, which is an artsy Wes Anderson movie. And an Oppenheimer trailer played before both of them, and I can't tell if they're gonna make Oppenheimer the good guy. Slash, is this going to be patriotic propaganda? Because like the main thing is that it's like the Nazis have a bomb and they have an 18-month head start on us, and if the Nazis drop a bomb, then it's gonna be the end of WW2. Which I don't know if they even calling it World War II in like 1944 or 1943. I don't
I don't know.
know.
Probably.
They might
I
have been.
think so. It's not like they were calling it Great War II.
I suppose.
Yeah, but did they
Maybe
have
the
enough like
Second Great
foresight?
War.
Like they didn't
Second.
call it World War One.
No, yeah, it was just Great War.
It's just the Great War. So I don't know if like in the middle of World War II they were calling it World War II. I don't
I
know.
mean, they were probably calling it like the Second Great War because of how
Yeah.
many were involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
Plus,
my
America didn't
guess.
even care for like the first 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That was just one thing I noticed in the second time watching the trailer, where it's like, this could be the end of WW2. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's something that they put in the trailer, so that people would know what they're talking about.
Oh,
Your average nobody, but I mean, Chris Nolan also made Dunkirk, so I think he's just a fan of World War II or World War II history or whatever. I don't know. I know people are
Could be.
super into that. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'm gonna see it. It's 3 hours long, and frankly, I am not a fan of of Oppenheimer's work. I hope that's not too controversial or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna see it, and that's that. I don't know any other blockbusters that I'm excited to see. I don't think I'm gonna see the new Indiana Jones in theaters, just because I haven't seen Temple of Doom or Crystal Skull. So I feel like I should probably watch those, even though, I mean, I think most people would agree that those are the two weaker ones. So I don't know. But Grant saw it and said that it was meh, so I don't know what that means. He said that his first thing he texted me after watching the in the theaters was, I would not be surprised at all if you told me this movie was written by AI. So that's a good sign.
yeah.
So yeah, but I guess before we dive into movie stuff, I guess further than we already have, to probably address that the next couple of weeks we're going to be taking off. I am going to be on vacation until the 20th of July. So,
Yippee.
2 weeks off of the Boy Time podcast, which we hardly ever do.
Really.
But
Unprecedented, even.
I don't know if, well, maybe. I don't know if you've ever taken 2 weeks off. Maybe once before, but it's pretty rare. But
About to
yeah,
lose our entire audience because of this.
Yep.
probably. But yeah, I'm not going someplace where I'm going to have Wi-Fi, so it'll be
Colombia.
yes. I'm going to Botswana,
Yes.
Let's go.
Lesotho, even.
Lesotho. I'm going to Djibouti. So
Nice.
I do not have access to the internet. So
Let's go. Yeah, I don't have enough content to fill up a podcast, and it would look wildly different based on my topics versus yours. So we're
it
just
would
gonna
be
take
very
weeks
different.
off.
Yeah. So, but that's okay. But we'll be back on either the 26th or 27th. We kind of float between those two dates because sometimes I'm busy on Wednesdays. So there we go. Just a little heads up, but that is going to be happening. But the Boy Time podcast is not over. It's just a break. So
We're not
Word.
canceled.
we're not
Last
canceled.
episode ever.
This is the last episode. No, not quite. But I guess with that, then we will move into movie reviews. I watched 3 movies this week. I realistically could have watched more, but I didn't. So the first movie I watched, I mentioned it last week, and then I'm like, I should probably watch it now that I brought it up, is the 1977 animated film Wizards, with the cool looking spaceman on a fat horse on the poster.
Yeah.
A great poster, I will say. If you've not seen the poster for Wizards, it's pretty iconic. The movie is kind of sucky, though. It's a really weird concept. I guess, yeah, Wizards. It's written and directed by Ralph Bakshi, who went on to like make a bunch of movies. He made like the original animated Lord of the Rings movie. He did Fritz the Cat. Is that it? He has one that I don't even think I can say. I don't even know what it's about, but it might be racist. Um,
Better safe than sorry.
it does have
You're taking
Scatman.
2 weeks off. You could just rebrand this as a.
I'm.
I need some time to think about my
I need
decisions.
some time to think about whether or not I can say the name of this movie. It's not um, like it doesn't have like well, it is kind of a slur, but yeah, it's technically like a blaxploitation movie. It has Scatman Crothers in it, who I love.
Man,
He's in The Shining, famously.
very famously.
Very famous. He has
Yeah.
his whole arc in that movie is hilarious. It's the best thing in the whole movie is he's the one that teaches Danny that he has like the shining, which in the movie is vastly different than the book, but in the movie it's basically like you can see ghosts and also you can kind of like communicate telepathically to people. So that's why Danny sees like the twins in the hallway, famous scene in The Shining.
Very famous.
So Scatman Crothers kind of tells Danny about this before everybody leaves the hotel, and then he finds out that Jack Torrance has gone crazy, and he's like, "Oh no," because he and Danny have a telepathic link. So he's like, "Help! My dad is trying to kill everyone with an axe." And so then he like gets on a plane, and then his car breaks down because it's a snowstorm, and then he gets like a cat or something that has like treads so that he can get on the snow, and he gets in the hotel and he walks in the door, and as soon as he walks in he gets his chest chopped to pieces by Jack Torrance. It's like this really long scene where you're like, oh boy, Scatman Crothers is gonna save the day, and then nope.
No.
He gets axed.
He tried.
He tried, but it's like the big misdirect thing, that you think, oh boy, there's a little bit of hope. Someone's coming to save him. Nope. Immediately,
Ever.
nope. But yeah, so that guy is in. Yeah, I'm not risking it. I'm not saying it. Movie. If you look at Ralph Bakshi's previous works, it is his movie from 1975, and you will know it when you see it. But yeah, so he's kind of. I think this might be his biggest movie, or maybe probably The Lord of the Rings. It's probably his biggest movie.
Could be. I don't know. Seems like a pretty big movie.
Not the Peter Jackson one, the animated one, from the 70s.
I'm sure they're still pretty good.
It's
Pretty big.
okay. I think I've seen The
Okay.
Hobbit, and I don't know if I've seen this Lord of the Rings, but it's probably not great because it's all 3 books in one 2-hour movie.
Oh god.
So,
It's like 6 hours and 2.
um, well, I mean, the Lord of the Rings movies are 3 hours each.
9
So
hours
that's
and
9
2.
hours and 2.
Oh
Yeah.
god, and that's gonna so many time skips and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's accurate. It probably is not.
Not my accurate Lord of the Rings.
No. But that is probably his biggest thing that he is known for. I don't know if he did The Hobbit. I think Hobbit was done by Rankin Bass, I think, who are like those guys that did like the claymation Christmas things, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and like that style. You know what I'm talking. Rankin Bass. I think they made The Hobbit, which is animated traditionally. Who is also in Smiling Friends. Bilbo from the Rankin Bass Hobbit movie is in the fantasy episode of Smiling Friends. As Pym, or no, as Mip, which is Pym backwards. But I guess without further ado, talk about Wizards. Wizards has a very interesting idea behind it, I guess. So basically, it takes place after a nuclear apocalypse. So it's very similar to Nausicaa. Probably the same level of quality between this and Nausicaa, the Ghibli movie. But yeah, it takes place after a nuclear apocalypse, and after like most of humanity is wiped out, then the mythical creatures that had been in hiding for centuries come out of hiding. So your elves and fairies, and I think that's it. Elves and fairies, and
Well,
I don't remember. I don't think there's dwarfs. There might be. They
wow,
might have mentioned dwarves. I don't
raises.
know. Yeah, maybe. Um, and yeah, and so after this nuclear apocalypse, then technology is outlawed throughout the realm. You cannot use any technology because the last time they did it, they almost wiped out all of humanity. So
No
instead,
Xbox.
wait, what?
No Xbox.
No Xboxes allowed, but Magic is back. So
Even
no,
better.
Love
no
Magic the Gathering.
technology. But yeah, you can play Magic with your friends, and it's pretty fun.
Let's go.
And so the conflict of the movie comes from there are mutants that are mutated from the nuclear fallout, and they are led by, oh, what's the guy's name? It's something stupid. Um, Black Wolf, who is an evil wizard who is infatuated with Hitler and World War II imagery, and but he uh, is foiled by his good brother Avatar, who is a kindly wizard. But they're twin brothers, and one is the embodiment of good, and one is the embodiment of evil. And so Black Wolf is trying to reunite, or like kind of unite all of the mutants, and he's also like risen an army of the dead. And then he inspires them because he found a projector and some World War II footage of like Nazi marches and like Hitler speeches, and he plays it for the mutants, and they all get really excited, even though they probably don't even know what Jews are, because I don't think
They
anything.
speak German.
They speak German, but all of these mutants and Black Wolf, they use like swastikas on all their things, and they call Black Wolf their Führer, so it's very on the nose that these are the bad guys because they are
I
Nazis.
don't know.
It's hard to say.
They could just be being misread, you know?
No, no, not really.
They
But
could just patriotic.
Sounds
yeah.
like a Wall Street Journal
Y-
article headline.
It's true. And they're they're like big super weapon, as it were. Their Death Star, which is going to be apropos a little bit later when we get into the cast, is the projector of Nazi footage. And like the first time they siege like an elf village, they play the Nazi footage, and the elves are like so revolted by like people marching in the streets and just like looking at the face of Hitler, like not even knowing like nobody knows who these guys are. Like this happened like thousands of years ago, but just like looking at Nazi imagery like stuns them to the point where all of the mutants just like basically just walk up and stab them because I don't know, they're so scared of Hitler. It's the weirdest thing ever.
The real
And
tactic Hitler should have used.
it really.
Mass projector.
But it kind of reminded me of Smiling Friends and the episode Frowning Friends, where like at
Yeah.
the end of the episode they're like, oh, they have like this huge crowd around Frowning Friends, and they're like, oh, look how evil the world is, and then they're like playing all of this like footage of like people starving and war footage, and then Pim's like, oh no, Charlie, don't look, it'll ruin you, and he's like, I've seen way worse stuff than this on the internet. Is this supposed to scare me? Which is probably the real reaction, but everybody in Wizards acts like Pym, where it is the absolute worst thing they have ever seen. So naturally, Avatar and an elven chieftain and a fairy named Eleanor, who we're going to talk about because the way they animate Eleanor is insulting, maybe. Um, but this is made by the guy who made a movie with a slur in it and 2 years before, so I don't know if that is to be expected. But they go and they are going to stop Black Wolf before he are going to destroy the projector, because without the projector then the army is pretty much useless. So so that's their goal. That is the main plot. And yeah, so we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna talk about art direction, which I hardly ever talk about. But this movie maybe has one of the worst art direction problems that I have ever seen in a movie, in an animated movie, maybe a movie period. For some ungodly reason, whenever there are the bad mutants and they are storming a good elven or fairy village or whatever, instead of animating an actual army of mutants or the dead or whatever, it cuts to stock footage of a medieval like a medieval charge of knights or African warriors or Native American warriors. But to cover that up, they they did like some sort of matting where it's pretty much just the figures of the people that you can see. And then they like animated red eyes on all of the figures. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like, maybe it's supposed to be like they're trying to write it off as like, oh, there's an army of the dead, and that's why it's knights and like African warriors. It doesn't make any sense, and it looks awful. It's really hard to describe with words like why this looks so bad. But like, I mean, this was 1977, but like, imagine like, and those maybe familiar with video editing are going to be a little bit uh, relate to this a little bit better than most people. But like, if you stand in front of a green screen and you're editing the green screen out, and maybe like you just like put on the effect the first time, and then like it still kind of works where it's like you're obviously not shown, but then maybe there's like a few specks all over the place of like maybe the green screen's a little bit in the shadow over here, or like the light's a little bit hard on the green screen up in this corner, and so like those parts still kind of stick out, and that's when you got to go back in and edit it to kind of get those spots out so it's just you. I don't know if they had that technology in the 70s, so like those spots are still all over the place, and like there's holes in people where like their matting was a little bit too aggressive. It's just really bad. And like there's so many shots of it, and it's obvious like that they didn't shoot like a footage for it. They're just like they just took like stock footage or like footage from other movies or something and then just put it in, and it is pretty bad. But speaking of art direction, let's talk about Eleanor. Eleanor is like the fairy. She's like an apprentice fairy to Avatar who is learning her magical powers from him. And I would implore, if you are able to look up pictures right now, if you're on the road, don't do that. But if you are able to look up a photo of Eleanor from the 1977 film Wizards, I would implore you to do so. You will see a scantily clad fairy wearing a sheer, like, onesie type thing, which barely covers her. And throughout the entire movie, they animate her nipples to be poking through the dress thing, the onesie, and it was just it was confusing to say the least. And I'm all for female empowerment and body positivity, but this just seemed like some weird pervert was animating this movie and wanted to give the only female character giant bazoingas that you could constantly see her nipples through the shirt, and it was weird. It didn't really fit at all, and it wasn't like sometimes. I think this is especially prevalent in anime, but in animated things, maybe they or like hell, Jessica Rabbit, where like you animate a female to be very like voluptuous and sexual, but then they use that where like they know that like this they use their attractiveness to kind of fool and one up men that like kind of fall for them, and that's not what this is at all. It's just to ogle this fairy some eye candy for the road while they're just so you can just constantly be looking at tits throughout the entire movie, which is pretty cool, I would say.
My
So
type of movie.
I would say so. But yeah, so I do kind of want to talk about the cast a little bit just because it's kind of funny. The big thing, the big person that is in this is Mark Hamill. That's right. This guy was in two sci-fi fantasy films in 1977. One was insanely popular, and the other one was Star Wars.
True.
Nice.
Yeah. Everybody and their dad knows about wizards. Um, yeah. I just think that's kind of funny. And now he's like, whenever you search wizards, it's like, oh, he's the top cast. Mark Hamill was in this movie. He's in like one scene, barely. He was just given like a little speaking part. Um, so, but now, like I've seen interviews with like Ralph Bakshi, and he was like, Mark Hamill was clearly, he was a gifted guy, and, I'm glad that George saw it too. It's like, man, he's like in the background of one like scene. Like, let's not talk about him with like this like reverence that you're like, wow, I saw his acting prowess from the very beginning. Because he didn't give him like a big role at all. He just plays like a fairy or like a fairy chief that has like one or two lines, but now he's like top billed. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, that's pretty much the only person of note. David Proval is in this. He plays the cool guy on the poster. David Proval. I know him as he's in The Sopranos as the dude that Tony's sister is going to marry in like season 2, and then he takes a funny slip and croaks. So I knew him from that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that guy's in this. Weird. But yeah, I do briefly want to talk about the ending of this movie because it almost completely redeems everything, and it is maybe one of my favorite endings in any movie I have ever seen. Because Avatar, he is a wizard and he does not believe in using technology, but when he finally has his like confrontation with Black Wolf, he's like, I'm gonna do some secret magic that Mother taught me when you were away, and it's only to be used in severe circumstances. And also, I'm glad you changed your last name, you son of a bitch. And then he pulls out like a World War II pistol and then just shoots him in the head twice. And then that's the confrontation. There's no magic wizard duel. He just gets shot twice. And then like 2 minutes later, the movie ends.
Okay, that's a worth it ending.
It's awesome. The whole reason I watched this movie is because I saw someone post that ending on Twitter, and I'm like, that is the best thing I have ever seen. What movie is this from? Oh, it's from Wizards? I'm gonna watch it then. So the rest of the movie I was very disappointed with, but that ending is awesome. So I would highly recommend that you watch the ending. The rest of the movie you don't really need to, unless you're into weirdo fantasy sci-fi stuff, which I'm not. but I thought it would be fun to do this movie, so I did. But ultimately, I gave it 2 out of 5 because,
Pretty good score.
yeah, well, I mean, the ending really did redeem quite a bit. Well, I'm gonna be
You
honest.
0.5 out of 5 without that.
Yeah, it probably got a half star for the ending. But it's only an hour 20, and it's a pretty interesting premise, I would say. I just think they kind of fumbled it quite a bit. So that's it for Wizards. Now let's talk about 2 movies that are new. So we're gonna jump ahead 50 years. These are 2 new films. I saw these both in the theaters. I saw my good friend Greg Marcus twice. Very nice. I do like that quite a bit. I don't know which one. I guess I'll talk about Past Lives first, just because I saw that one first. Past Lives, written and directed by Celine Song, starring Greta Lee Uteo and John Magaro. It's an A24 classic. It's a Korean, quasi-Korean movie. Most of the movie is in Korean, so I'm going to say it is a Korean movie. But also, most of the movie takes place in New York City, so I'm not entirely sure. But there are large portions of the movie that are set in Seoul, so I'm not sure. I don't know what Celine Song's background is. I just saw the film. But this movie has been getting a lot of attention. Well, I don't know about a lot of attention, but at least film bros have been seeing this movie and have been lauding it as a fantastic movie. I liked it. It's not my cup of tea, but I get why everybody is clamoring over it. Because it's a slow burn A24 movie, so that means that everybody and their dad is going to fall in love with it. But subject matter didn't really get it for me, even though it was pretty heartbreaking at points. But the movie is about, it starts off in Seoul. There's a 12-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl. They go to school together and they have kind of a crush on each other. They're childhood friends. And then the girl's family decides they're going to move to the United States. They're going to immigrate, for no particular reason, because I think the dad is a movie director or a writer or something, and the mom is an artist, but they're just like, yeah, we're just going to move, whatever, for whatever reason. So the boy and the girl are separated for, I think, 12 years. So they reconnect again in their early 20s. They have like a series of like Skype video calls with each other, which was very nostalgic because it took place in like 2011, 2012. So I guess that's when Skype was a thing. But they had these video calls, and then it kind of got to the point where they were developing feelings for each other again. So then they decided, or I guess it was the girl that decided to be like, hey, let's take a break because, neither of us are in a place to where we can visit each other or really do anything, with this relationship. I mean, things probably were harder to do long distance back then, especially given the time difference, because she was living in New York City and he's living in Seoul, so opposite sides of the
Horrible
globe.
time difference.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And he was just starting engineering school. He was getting ready to do an internship in China. And she's a writer, and she was getting ready to do a writing residency. So like, 2 pretty pivotal moments of time. And so then they decide, okay, whatever, let's take a break. We'll get back together as soon as possible. And then another 12 years goes by. So now they're both in their late 30s. the girl got married to another writer that she met in the writing residency, but the guy never did. I don't know if he was holding out hope. He was in a relationship with someone in Korea, but then that kind of fizzled out. And it is kind of implied it's because of this relationship that he wants to have with this childhood friend. And like the climax of the movie is that, once they're established, they have like roots. This guy comes to New York City. And it is explicitly because he wants to see her. So, drama. Because
Drama alert.
it's a drama alert. It's a very, I don't want to say it's heady, but it's very emotional, and it's kind of devastatingly sad, but it's also very real. Like, it's not a typical romance, which is what I was worried about going into it, because I had seen the trailer. I think I saw the trailer for it before I saw Beau is Afraid, honestly. And I remember seeing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so she's just gonna leave her husband for the Korean guy, because it's a romance movie, and that's what happens in romance movies. But that's not really what happens in this movie. It's like the whole, it's kind of hard to analyze this movie, but I think the whole point is like sometimes just like the time isn't right, and it just is never gonna work. And also, like, there's kind of a running theme of male inadequacy, and that her husband is like, we're boring. Like, me and you, our relationship is boring. We met in a writing residency, and then we got married really fast because your green card was about to expire. So, like, what is our relationship in compared to, two childhood sweethearts that he traveled across the globe to meet you? And she's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not going to completely uproot my life and move to Seoul, because she became a playwright and was, yeah, I think she was like rehearsing for a play. I don't know if it was like on Broadway, off Broadway, whatever. But, and then the guy from Seoul was basically, he didn't want to marry his girlfriend in Seoul. And I think this is like Korean culture talking, where it's like, he didn't want to marry her because he was worried that, like, because he's an only child, that when like a male only child marries a woman, then he should be able to like be really financially stable and wealthy and be able to care for her. And he was like, I'm not. I'm like a middle of the road engineering guy, and like he lives all right, but like he still lives with his parents, which is not unusual in, well, most places. But in Korea, it's not super unusual, even though he's in his 30s. So, yeah, just kind of like that running theme of like dudes seeking companionship to kind of overcome inadequacies, which pretty common, I would say, in my experience. I know a lot of dudes who are really self-conscious, but like put out like a persona of being not me though.
Definitely not.
Not me, but other
The best.
dudes. I'm very hot and attractive, so I have nothing to worry about.
I have no problems.
I have no problems.
And problemo.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the movie's great. I mean, I would highly recommend it. It's pretty good. It's just not really for me. Like, the movie is almost entirely just dialogue, which means that it is writing heavily on the actors' performances, and they are phenomenal. I think, I mean, probably the best acting in any movie I've seen so far this year. Um, I doubt it's gonna get any sort of recognition because it's, an A24 movie that isn't a big one. Like, this is a kind of little small one. Like, it only came to my town for one weekend.
It's a
Um,
small boy.
it's a small one. I don't think it's getting a wide release like your Ari Aster movies or Everything Everywhere, something like that. Um, but yeah, it's pretty good. Just not really for me. So I gave it 4 out of 5. Um, that's more like and on like I have to recognize that it's really really good, even though I probably wouldn't watch it again. It's not really my cup of tea. Slow burn act or dramas. I don't really know. There needs to be a little bit more of a backbone for me, or a bigger conflict.
Needs to be more action.
There needs to be action. I'm a sucker for
If there's no
action.
pew pew shoot gun, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's me. Um, I just need a little bit more, but I understand that a lot of people like this movie, and I can see why. So, yeah, check it out if you want to, I guess. Um, it's pretty good. Grant gave it 4.5 out of 5, so he liked it more than I did.
Oh,
He
Um,
likes romance movies.
he does, even though it's not really. It is, but it isn't because it's not a romance movie that really works. It's uh, it's like lost love or just like it doesn't really have a genre. It's just like kind of what happens in real life. Sometimes people just never really.
it's the life genre.
It's life genre. You know.
Slice of life, but not an anime.
Yeah, yeah. I guess slice of life is probably accurate.
Actually, quite is, yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good. Now let's talk about a pretty mid movie, which is as sad as it is for me to say. Asteroid City.
Should I not see it?
You can. It's not bad, but I think Wes Anderson has gotten a little comfortable. uh, it's not like the same movie as uh, you know
Every other one.
as every other one. I really like French Dispatch. I know a lot of people. I think that was kind of the turning point for a lot of people, where it's like, oh boy, okay, it's another Wes Anderson movie. But I don't know. I really like that movie. Asteroid City. He's trying to do a Grand Budapest, or at least that's what it seemed to me. He was just doing Grand Budapest again. Just in the way that it's framed. But Grand Budapest is like a weird, like there's 4 layers to Grand Budapest. The movie starts and it's a lady reading a book by a statue of the author, and then it's the author, and he's telling the story of when he met the like original lobby boy for the Grand Budapest Hotel, and then that guy is telling the story to the author of when he was the lobby boy at the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is actually a story about the original concierge for the Grand Budapest Hotel. So there's like this huge it's like layers on layers on layers on layers. Even though like the majority of the movie is this guy's recollection of the original kind of, I don't remember what the title is, but it's that and the author's experience. And so then this movie it starts off and it's a play of a guy writing a play, and that play is Asteroid City. So the movie that we're watching is a play that is written by Edward Norton, and the host is Bryan Cranston for some reason. I guess you just gotta give Bryan Cranston any role he wants. But so it's like a weird layer, but not a layer that is especially compelling, because the thing that makes Grand Budapest so great and why that structure works is that even in the context of a movie which we know is already fake, the events that happened in Grand Budapest, at least to the characters, are real. Like, these are real experiences that these characters have experienced. They're just telling the story after the fact, which is a really interesting kind of narrative device because the characters are able to interact with the story and kind of either rewrite parts, overemphasize parts, or leave parts out, or maybe talk about those things later. So there's that kind of interesting thing where you don't really get that in this. So like we just kind of like cut back to like this play of this guy writing the play, and then just it cuts to the play that the guy was writing, but it's like not connected at all. Like it's just kind of like there's interludes that are sprinkled in between the actual play that is Asteroid City. But because it's a play, there's like little stakes because I mean, we know it's fake within the context of the fake movie. So it's not really compelling, and plus there's breaks all the time. Like every 3 or 4 scenes there's a break to kind of go into the real world and see what is happening there, of like the actors that are portraying the characters or the writer or the director or something like that. But I will say the context of it being a play does kind of give Wes Anderson the excuse to make everything look like a set, which he already always does anyways. But like the desert and Asteroid City, like the like far off backgrounds, those are obviously kind of hand painted sets, and a lot of the I guess the play kind of covers like there's this like fair for like whiz kids that the United States military is like recognizing greatness of these like young scientists, and they're also stealing all their ideas and going to sell them to the military slash an independent contractor. But that's neither here nor there. Until an alien shows up, played by Jeff Goldblum,
Great name.
which is
I just had a
probably
really weird vision in my head of how that looks.
I'm
I just imagine him just like showing up and he's like, ah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm just I'm flying in
passing
here.
through.
Yeah. Just I just kind of blue marble kind of just roll by. Just thought I'd say hi. No, not quite.
Pause for applause.
I wish. Yeah, the alien in the play is stop motion animated, similar to Isle of Dogs or Fantastic Mr. Fox. But then when we zoom out and get in the real world for like just one shot, you see Jeff Goldblum and he's getting his costume put on to be the alien, even though it's a stop motion thing in the movie. Although I guess the movie is like what the play would be if it was a movie. It's like an adaptation or something. I don't know. It's weird. But maybe we should talk about the graphic nudity.
Oh, good.
Because it is a PG-13 movie that has
You
graphic
piqued my
nudity.
attention.
Well, I know. First it was the fairy and wizards, and now it's this.
Oh, I know. Best pod so far.
I would say so. But I guess, a couple weeks or maybe a couple months before this movie came out, it was a big hullabaloo because it is like one of the first PG-13 movies to have graphic nudity as one of its descriptors. So what is that? And in a way, there is full frontal, but it's done artsy, but not, and it's not as explicit as French Dispatch. Because French Dispatch, you get full frontal and there's a lot of it, because that whole segment of that movie is about a painter who has like a live model who, he paints naked. Because I don't know, Wes Anderson's trying to make his movies more and more French, and I think he realized that every single French movie has to have a naked woman in it. So I think he's just starting to adopt that a little bit more. So there is a little bit of nudity, and it's in the trailer. There's that one like line in the trailer where Scarlett Johansson is like, "I did a nude scene. Do you want to see it?" And then Jason Schwartzman just kind of like looks at her, and he's like, "Yes. Did I say yes? I meant to say yes." And then it cut in the trailer, but then she does it in the movie, and she just kind of like she's wrapped in a towel, and then she like has a line, and then like it's just one shot, and it's like the camera is like down by her feet, like looking, like it's
Tarantino can.
a little bit, but you don't actually see her feet, I don't think. But yeah, it's behind her, look like facing towards her, and then there's a mirror by her window. So when she takes off the towel, you don't explicitly see it, but it's in the mirror, and I don't know if it's actually Scarlett Johansson because I think Scarlett Johansson she had a nude scene. Was it in Ghost in the Shell or something? And it didn't look like the same person. So I don't know. I don't know if they used a body double for that, and Scarlett Johansson was like, I'm not gonna be naked for you, Wes Anderson. Get this random stagehand to do it. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like one little shot, and then she puts the towel back on. So I guess it makes sense for it to be PG-13 because it's not really explicit. It's just one shot, and it's barely there.
Disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. And I think, well, French Dispatch had a lot of nudity, but that's really his only one that's been like that. But yeah, I think this is just this is a routine Wes Anderson movie at this point. I don't know. I'm excited for him to make a short film because I think that'll actually be pretty dang good. If those out there have not seen the Wes Anderson H&M commercial, those came out in like 2015, 2016, I think, around there. I highly recommend it. It's very good. It has Adrian Brody in it. It's a short little thing. It's kind of like, like those I think they're like Taiwanese commercials where it's like just a little short film about like people coming together, and then it's just like an insurance company. It's kind of like that, but for H&M, which does that even exist anymore?
I think so.
Okay.
H&M? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Is it just in New York?
No, they're everywhere.
Oh. Okay.
It's like a huge. You'll find one in the mall.
Oh.
In any mall, pretty much.
Oh. Okay. I do not frequent many malls these days, I have to say. But yeah, it's a pretty good. It's really just like a short film, and then they just like put H&M at the end. So if that's what he's gonna be doing next, I think his next one he said is gonna be like 30 to 40 minutes long, which I'm a big fan of. If more directors are like, hey, I don't need 3.5 hours to make a movie, and I can just tell this story with 40 minutes, do that, please. I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but I suspect that it does not need to be 3 hours. Because
What's it take to make a nuke? Come on.
apparently 3 hours.
Yikes.
There's actually like a plot for like an hour, and then the other 2 hours is just the slowest motion bomb explosion you've ever seen in your life.
My tax dollars taking 3 hours? Come on.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, it's that trailer really just does not inspire a lot of hope in me, because it's like there's this one line in it where it's like, why would I send a bunch of scientists off in the desert for who knows how long without like contact with the outside world. And then Matt Damon is in it, and he plays like the United States military guy who's like heading up the project. And he's like, maybe it's because it's the most important development in humankind. I'm like, is that going to be the attitude for this whole movie? Is that it's going to be like this? Oh, we this huge reverence for what we're doing, and then at the end, it's going to be like, actually, it's bad. But it's like,
Yeah,
I
it'll
don't.
just be the whole thing where it's like, whoa,
Whoopsie.
it's a scientific discovery,
is-
but used for bad, even
this
though it
is
wasn't explicitly made for bad.
Yeah, like maybe that's what I mean. Einstein is in it,
Yeah.
and like in the trailer, it looks like he's very solemn. Like, oh no, they're using my discovery for evil. Which I don't even. I don't know.
That guy though.
I don't know. Every time I watch a Chris Nolan movie, I have to like drag my feet and like force myself to do it, even though I enjoy most of his movies. I think the only one I really didn't like was Dunkirk. But all of his other ones I've really liked. But it's just like, man, I'm just not in the mood for this. Like, maybe it's just because I don't really like him as a person. Because he seems so pretentious. He's kind of like James Cameron. He just kind of seems like just a little asshole. He's like, you have to watch my movie. I love IMAX. You gotta watch it on IMAX. It's like I'm gonna watch
Literally
your movie on my phone, just to spite you.
I'm watching 480p just to spite you.
Yeah. Well, I'll compare Chris Nolan to Wes Anderson here, which is almost comparing apples and oranges, but just in how they shoot resolution, which is something we hardly ever talk about unless it's a movie is like actively in 4:3 to preserve the artist's vision or whatever. Wes Anderson does that all the time, and he does it all the time in this movie too, because all of the scenes in Asteroid City are in color and widescreen, but the scenes that take place of like the writing in the real world are black and white in 4:3. He did that in the French Dispatch too, where like every single thing was a different aspect ratio. And in that, it's to kind of like differentiate when things are happening, which is, I mean, I think it's fine enough. I'm not like someone who gushes over aspect ratio because I don't really think it's necessarily the most important thing, but there is reasons why you need to change it. And Chris Nolan does change his aspect ratio, but it's just because for some reason, I don't know why he doesn't change it in post, but IMAX cameras record in a different aspect ratio than regular film cameras do. In fact, I think it might be some version of 4:3 that IMAX cameras record in, because I believe that's why Zack Snyder's Justice League was in 4:3, was because Zack Snyder recorded on IMAX cameras, and he was just like, I like that, let's do that. Even though when most people shoot on IMAX cameras, they format it to fit an actual movie screen. But this is why you never give Zack Snyder full creative control, because he does dumb stuff like that. But Chris Nolan also does that, where all of his action scenes are in a different aspect ratio than all of his other scenes, because he switches from using IMAX cameras and regular cameras, and for some reason he doesn't edit them to be in the same aspect ratio. So like if you watch like any of the Dark Knight movies, like your regular scenes are going to be like your talking drama scenes are going to be regular 16:9, and then your action scenes are going to be the letterbox is going to be a little less pronounced, so you're going to be seeing more of the frame. And it isn't for any artistic reason, it's because he switches cameras and doesn't edit it in post. And I think that's standard throughout most of his movies, because he is like adamant in recording in IMAX cameras, but only some of the time, I guess. So, yeah, that's not the reason I don't like Chris Nolan, but it does kind of just show like why. Like, we get it. You like IMAX cameras, but like you don't have to be like, this is IMAX. I'm gonna put it in my movie so that you know when I'm shooting in IMAX cameras. Like, shut up. It doesn't matter. Shoot on IMAX all the time or don't. Or do it how you're doing it and just edit it so it isn't jarring. But I doubt most people even notice that stuff. But I notice it, and it it is a little frustrating.
Think about Alex for once.
Yeah, why doesn't anyone think about little old me? Why doesn't anyone listen to the Boy Time podcast and take notes?
Take our opinions.
Yeah.
The secret to life is in this podcast.
Hey,
We will literally make your career.
yeah. You know, I saw that David Lynch was spotted filming something in L.A. I hope he's listening to his podcast while shooting, because he could be learning a lot. Because I know more about filmmaking than David Lynch. Obviously.
Of course.
Of course. Oh, here's a fun fact about David Lynch. So I guess to preface, my girlfriend is from Fairfield, which is a very small town in Iowa. But David Lynch has a house in Fairfield, because what Fairfield is known for is they have these golden domes that people practice transcendental meditation in. The Beatles went there, the Beach Boys went there, and now David Lynch goes there. And in the Golden Domes, you can go to school there, and most of it is like, oh, here's transcendental meditation, here's some spiritual stuff, here's how to read the Vedas, whatever, stuff like that. But there's also a David Lynch course. Now, he doesn't teach it, but he came up with a curriculum. And for some reason, the one film course they gave David Lynch, it's not like how to shoot things. It's not anything on like the actual shooting things that David Lynch is very good at. Like, I would say he's a very talented cinematographer and kind of filmmaker in that way. The course they gave him was screenwriting. Have they ever seen a David Lynch movie? Why would you have him teach you screenwriting? I don't think he knows anything about screenwriting. He's writing his movies as he's filming them. I don't understand. When I saw that, I my jaw dropped. I'm like, why the hell are they having David Lynch teach screenwriting? That's so weird. So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of funny. I like to imagine that's where David Lynch is right now, since he has not been posting his dang weather report. I don't know if it's a Friday once again.
The weather.
In Los Angeles. It's a sunny day in sunny California. It's 85 degrees. And I am not filming something for Cannes. That's
Don't
all.
ask me about it.
Stop asking me about it. Oh, speaking of don't ask me about it, I saw that someone asked Wes Anderson about those AI things. And he just said, I don't want to know about that. Why are you asking me about this? Which is the right answer.
That is the right response. It's like, what am I, 7?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. It was something like, I don't want to know what people are doing with me or something like that. I don't know. It would have, yeah, like, stop. This guy has better things to do than ask him about some AI stuff that some people know about. I saw that, I think he did the Criterion Closet thing, and he picked out anime. I think he picked out Evangelion, whatever. And now everyone knows that Wes Anderson is a weeb. Not just for French things, but I guess for Japanese things too. So gets around, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, it was kind of weird. This new movie was not French at all. It was very American Southwest. Oh, I guess technically, I guess he was writing the play in New York City. Um, but it felt very Southwest. So that's it for my movie reviews. I was gonna say I don't know what I'm gonna watch next week, but I won't be here next week,
Got him.
so I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna be talking about. Hopefully, I don't have like 8 movies because that would be unrealistic. But
Don't do it.
whatever I watch on vacation, I'll try to limit it to the three, either the most interesting or the three best I saw. So I guess you have that to look forward to in 3 weeks or whatever. So that's it for me. I'm gonna pass it on over to James W. Babby.
Let's
My full
go.
name for today.
Yeah.
I know his middle name now.
I don't have a lot of anything, so this will be very swift.
Perfect.
There was only one thing that came out this week that was interesting to me. It was not the Lil Uzi Vert album. I might
What?
listen to that eventually, but 26 songs, hour and a half, I'm not doing that. There's no reason to be making that many songs. Although there is a cover of Chop Suey on there, apparently. Out of all the songs to make a cover for, that might be the worst option.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But I feel like this is receiving the usual reception of these kind of albums where they're like way too bloated, and why can't you just make an 11-song album with the good songs from this record and not bloat it to 26 songs?
26. What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with Whole Lotta Red, except most of Whole Lotta Red does go hard. But yeah, so I might check it out if I, am bored and need something, poppy and trappy to listen to. But as of now, I'm good. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, only thing that came out was this Alchemist EP, Flying High. 4 tracks on here. It's okay. There's nothing too crazy on here. I definitely think the best song is Rip Tracy with Earl Sweatshirt and Billy Woods, because both of them actually sound like they're here to rap. The rest of the cast here kind of just show up. I think Boldy James would be the only other one that I felt did a good job. And Boldy James always acts like he's not interested, so it's not, out of his element at all. But yeah, I feel like Rip Tracy and Trouble Man are my favorites. Bless with Mike and Sideshow was kind of cool. I like the jazzy instrumental. But the 4th track with Larry June and Jigworthy, I just not get anything from. Yeah, I don't like Larry June very much, and Alchemist keeps doing stuff with him. I just find him very monotone and kind of boring. There's a way to do that, and Boldy James does that perfectly, and there's a way to like be ice cold and still interesting without being just completely bland and boring, in my opinion. But it's okay. I definitely like his This Thing of Ours series, EP series, a lot better. I felt like both volumes of that were really great. I feel like the people he got on him with like Earl Sweatshirt, Navy Blue, and stuff were a lot more exciting than this cast of characters, besides Earl and Billy Woods. So it's decent, but I mean, I will definitely be going to other Alchemist things. Other than that, I think I just saw this. Apparently, Angelo De Augustine released an album this past week. So I might check that out for next time, just because, Beginner's Mind is great. So I do want to check out some of his solo work and see how that is. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty similar to Sufjan, since that collab record just sounded like a Sufjan record. But
Yeah. I've not listened to any of Angelo De Augustine stuff.
yeah, I've heard he's pretty good. I know when that collab got announced, people were like super excited that they were meeting up for an album. So I'm sure it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
And I mean, nice folk tunes. It's not too hard to get in there. So
No.
it'll probably be pretty decent.
It's a cool album cover. Toil and Trouble.
Toil and Trouble. Yeah. Only new album I think that we got news on coming up is there's gonna be a new James Blake album September 8th. So excited for that because James Blake. I guess we'll take that kind of. I'll take James Blake. It's just, where's Frank Ocean? I feel like everybody's coming before Frank Ocean. It's like I loop them in the same genre, kind of.
Well, he was there. He was in what was it? Coachella.
Yeah,
And then he disappeared.
he was barely there.
Yeah, he was barely
Yeah,
there.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
So, but that's it for this week. Very slow. Back to usual. This year has been literally like 2 weeks that have every single thing drop, and then it's just dead for the most part after. But I mean, there's still some quality stuff this year. We'll definitely have a year-end video and all that stuff still. It just won't be as extensive, which is
Yeah.
probably better for all of us.
Yeah, I won't have
so.
very much.
Yeah, we'll do like a top 5 or a top 10 or something. It won't be like a whole extensive list.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have a lot of overlap this year, honestly. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably. Oof, rough stuff.
But that's it for music. I don't really have anything planned for my other segment today. It's the 4th of July. I'm like, what do I want to do for my 4th of July episode? But I feel like I don't really need to talk about it because I feel like it's pretty obvious how I feel about the 4th of July, and then just how the 4th of July is. This Friday, I believe, the Supreme Court made like 3 horrendous rulings
Yeah.
on a holiday weekend. So as you fly your flags around and set off your little mini explosions into the sky, you can just, think about what what Friday did. So there's that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you can tie that back to, the episodes I did on neoliberalism. We literally talked about this, or even just like the second episode of the show where I talked about just Q&A things. Talked about how a ruling class takes away concessions from the working class, yada, yada, yada. Individualism, hyper individualism, where even after the student loan relief thing got killed, there are still a lot of people who have the mindset of you took out the loan, you should pay it back with no further analysis. So, yeah, I feel like I don't need to talk about it a lot. I don't like covering current events either, just because they're so like I can get analysis out of them, but I don't know if it's as worth as the other segments on here. But obviously, it's very bad. I can't say I didn't see this coming. I definitely saw it coming. This court will continue to rule back everything as lifetime appointees that are non-elected, and we can't do anything about it. So, and the only solutions I can think of, I cannot publicly say. So, yeah.
I'm just saying their addresses are public.
I'm just saying their addresses are public, and they really don't like it when you protest outside their house. If you remember the Roe v. Wade decision, they were very, very upset when people showed up at their doorstep to protest. So,
Did you ever find out who leaked that decision was going to happen like a week before?
I don't remember. I feel
don't
like
think they
one
did.
person leaked it, and then a whole bunch of
Feels
news
like
outlets
that would have
picked up
been
on it.
pretty easy to find who leaked it.
Right.
True.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Maybe they did,
probably
and they
just
just
don't want
didn't
to
make
say
it
it.
public.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, but their addresses are available online. I'm surprised more protests didn't break out at these decisions. But the court sessions do this weird thing where like they make 3 like somewhat okay rulings, and then they just do the most horrendous stuff for the rest of it. I think Justice Roberts was like really mad and like said a thing to Fox News where he's like, it's really disrespectful for people to question the court's decision. Yeah, it's just
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So yeah, this hurts nothing but working class people, and yeah, the politicians don't care. Biden doesn't care. Biden could really erase student debt if he wanted to, but he won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should if he wants any chance of winning the coming election. But I mean, who knows? He might be dead before then, anyways. He's like 87 years old.
That's true. Yeah,
So.
I don't even know. There's no one else that is like like I guess besides Bernie, that is like
Bernie's not running. So
Yeah.
he's out.
He endorsed
he already-
Biden like really early.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, no, it's Biden versus Trump at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm just
Or
like
if Trump
even
goes to jail and can't run, it's DeSantis, which is
Or RFK Jr. What was it?
RFK Jr., which will never get the Democratic nomination, or Marianne Williamson. Neither of those people are good either. And if you run for a Democrat, you run under the Democratic Party. It's going to be the same thing always.
Yeah.
Cornel West is not going to win. He is an interesting figure to put in as kind of a third party candidate. I think he switched to the Green Party from the People's Party because the People's Party was like a very stupid move. But Cornel West is interesting. If anything, he'll shake up the landscape and just give some people some different ideas. But I don't see him going far at all, and it's pretty impossible for a third party candidate to do anything. And
it is 100% impossible, sadly.
And no matter who gets elected, it's not going to get better anyways. Like, you have to remember during Joe Biden's term, the abortion ruling got overturned. These just got overturned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in office. This is just a revolving machine that will always work like this. So, but not going to talk about it too much. Just thought, put it out there. I'm still surprised by how many people just celebrate the 4th of July. I hate it so much.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've been delivering to weirdo hillbillies that may or may not be in the Klan. There's this one house I delivered to. For some reason, I had never read the sign on their door, but I finally got around. Like, I delivered like a bunch of packages to them, and I looked at the sign on their door, and it was an advertisement for like a patriotic defense force. There was a number to call, and then apparently they meet in the backyard.
That's awesome.
I'm like, do I have to bring
Your
a bed sheet?
Defense force.
What is this?
This is formal. Wear overalls for this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also delivered to this guy. I have to deliver in his garage, and on his workbench he has a framed photo of Trump, and it's the one picture that everyone has of Trump. Mm-hmm. It's like the presidential one or whatever. No, it's just like it's one of him smiling. That's like yeah, just like if you search Donald Trump, it's probably the first one. And then he just put like a generic black frame around it on the workbench. And when I saw them like this last weekend, all of the conservatives I've talked to, they have not said have a happy 4th of July. They've just said have a happy holiday, which I thought they were against with Christmas. So I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's supposed to be like, because I know there was a lot of stink with Juneteenth this year. It's like, it's competing with the 4th of July. So let's call 4th of July the holiday or whatever. I don't know if that's it.
I wish I was like that ignorant where like that's my main issue.
Yeah.
And like some of these people are just like incapable of learning. So it's just like I try to do as much as I can, but I know some people are just not even reachable because they're just so far gone. But the more hyper-individualist you build a society and the less concessions you give to people or ordinary people, the more people get erratic and insane because there seems like there's no way out and they turn to these crazy things. So these people are victims at the end of the day. It doesn't make them good people, but they are all victims of circumstance. But I mean, even education for some of these people probably isn't going to do anything.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's sad. It's horrible. Yeah. I mean, I've had enough of this whole holiday anyways, like even before it even started. Like I remember Friday the decisions came out and then we drove up north and it was just like getting passed by gigantic trucks with boats on them and RVs and I'm like, oh my God, everybody's driving a mini tank.
Yeah.
It's just like everything just got so bad and there's fireworks going off for 5 days straight. It's just annoying.
I know. It used to be one day.
Used to be. COVID hit, and all of a sudden everybody just thought the 4th of July was like a whole first week of July.
I know, I hate it.
I don't know what changed, but yeah. So, yeah, nothing too groundbreaking or knowledgeable today, just to bring it up because I wasn't going to write about advertising and then not, mention this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, as election season gets closer, there'll be more circus stuff happening. I probably won't cover any of it because bourgeois politics don't mean anything for people. No. I'm hoping people will stop buying into that crap. But
it's fun entertainment for me.
It is entertaining. It's just really depressing. And I can't wait for the liberals to start crawling out of the walls and do the vote blue no matter who thing when you have like a literally dead dementia patient in office still that has done literally nothing to help anybody.
No.
Um, so yeah, but that'll be fun once that starts. I'm sure Trump will have some banger one-liners. I've already kind of liked his Ron DeSantis saga. Um,
Ron
got
DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis, Meatball Ron,
Ron DeSanctimonious.
Pudding Boy, yeah, Ron DeSanctimonious,
He's the one that
the
brought,
pudding
brought up
one.
like a pudding.
Yeah, yeah. He's an excellent poster, so I'm ready for that. I'm definitely ready for that. You have to look forward to something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It is cool seeing things burn in France. That's been kind of cool to see. But that's also just from an outsider perspective. I do have critiques of that thing too, just because like it seems like there's no common goal of the movement over there. It
No.
just seems to be agitate and burn stuff at this point,
Mm.
which the Communist Party of France should be taking advantage of this and getting a common goal together, but they don't seem to be doing that. I think they seem to be
They're that big.
flip flopping again. Yeah, I don't know how big the Communist Party is in France. I
It's
know.
I'm pretty sure tiny. I know
Yeah,
Marine Le Pen, like she got 30% of the vote herself, and then Macron got like what 40 to 50. I don't know.
yeah, somewhere around
It's
there.
not that big.
Yeah, so the French definitely have a better revolutionary attitude than we do in the States. I don't know what it's going to take
Mm.
for people to like
Okay,
hit the
very
breaking point
nothing.
here. It's kind of insane because things just keep getting taken away and taken away and taken away. Um, but people just keep going on. Like everybody was talking about this Friday, and then people just stopped talking about it. I'm like, do you not realize what just happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
All your student loan stuff is back now. And the interest is going to start again soon. Uh, you have the LGBT business discrimination where people can not serve LGBT people based on religion. So that's here again. And they got rid of affirmative action policies for college. So minorities will have a even harder time going into college because now this is going to free up a lot of room for legacy students, which is basically people that are born into families that kind of donate to these big universities or on boards, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, one news day, all that happens. So, and people
Yeah.
are just kind of shut up about it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know what
So
it's gonna take. But
the membership of the party of the Communist French Party is 42,000, and it's down this year.
yeah,
They have 12 National Assembly seats out of 577. Yeah, they're tiny.
yeah,
And
it's just
apparently, under founders is Ho Chi Minh.
yeah, but yeah. Ho Chi Minh helped make it. Ho Chi
Really?
Minh went all over the world. Yeah,
Interesting.
it is very interesting. Ho Chi Minh's a fascinating character. Um, but yeah,
But
I
yeah.
feel like the French Communist Party should be doing better because I feel like they made some weird statements during this too, where they're like kind of not on the side of the people
Mm.
in the streets. Um,
Well, from what I've heard, a lot of the writings actually from like the far right, just
oh yeah, far
because
right will
it's
always call out
madness,
these
just go
movements.
after it.
Yep, that's what happens.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
also just the entirety of Europe, unlike us, where like our generation is like what, like 60 to 70% like left wing. There's a lot that's like far left wing. It's like
yep.
the complete opposite there, and so
Hmm.
I have a feeling like the older guys are like not communists or like that because Soviet Union and all that, and then the younger ones they're just farther right. So
Yeah, their
yeah,
conditions are definitely different than they are here.
oh yeah,
They have the right revolutionary attitude, but the class consciousness is still lacking.
yeah.
So it's
France
just
is
two different
crazy, but
perspectives. It is, yeah. It's just two different perspectives of what's happening currently, while both countries are getting their rights stripped away constantly, and killings keep happening and happening. Um, one country's reaction is to not react at all, and one of the other countries is to get in the streets and do stuff,
literally
but without a
anarchy.
common goal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just an interesting thought as I was like watching these both unfold. But
Mm.
that's pretty much it this week. I just wanted to do a little bit of a blurb about that. Nothing too crazy. Um, I will definitely have something ready for when we come back for advertising. And then from there, I'm going to figure out where we want to pivot. I want to do some more media stuff, might do some consumption stuff, might be
E5.
fun. But yeah, happy 4th of July.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays to all that celebrate.
Merry holiday.
Yeah. It's
If
been
she
weird.
makes you so happy, why not marry her? Huh?
It's a great point.
Owned.
I really
Owned.
just made like a dad joke without even thinking about it. I'm a dad, I
Happens when you're
guess.
23.
You're a dad.
I'm a dad. I didn't know it, but I am.
I guess the DNA test came back, didn't it?
Hey,
Unfortunate.
I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, you too?
Yeah, no, happened to me. It's real
Nice.
unfortunate. Well, it's okay. Alright, well, I guess that's it for the podcast. We'll be back on either the 26th or the 27th. One of those. But,
One of those days.
yeah, don't forget about us. Please. I can't go on living anymore if I'm forgotten by anybody ever.
Man, I've already forgot who this guy is.
If
It's Jover.
If we even lose one subscriber, I'm going to delete my entire channel.
It's Jover.
That's how low my self-esteem is.
Literally ruined.
Remember when I was talking earlier about men who have very low self-esteems? It was
You
actually
were talking about
wasn't me.
yourself.
It was me the whole time. I was lying.
It all makes so much sense now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Bye.